Charles Baudelaire was the leading and most influential figure in 19th century French poetry. He was also a great essayist and a notable art critic, and was noted for his translations, which included texts by the writer Edgar Allan Poe. He is considered the father of modern poetry and a precursor to symbolism, an artistic movement of an anti-realist and anti-materialist nature that values, above all, subjectivity, emotions and feelings as the guiding threads of life and of artistic creation itself. This movement also had a strong appreciation for elements such as mystery, religiosity, mysticism, boredom, pessimism, and death. Charles-Pierre Baudelaire was born in the French capital on April 9, 1821. His mother was named Caroline Archimbaud Dufay, and his father, who passed away when the boy was only 6 years old, was named François Baudelaire, a cultured man with a strong affinity for painting, poetry, and books. This cultural and artistic inclination certainly influenced his son's tastes. After her husband's death, Caroline and Charles lived on the outskirts of the French capital for a time, until Caroline married a respected general named Jacques Opic, and then she, her new partner, and young Charles moved to the city of Lyon. Young Charles was enrolled at the Royal College of Lyon. Later, his stepfather took on a new professional post, and, as a result, the family returned to Paris, where he enrolled at the Lycée Louis-le-Grand, the same school where the brilliant poet, playwright, and philosopher Voltaire had studied. It was there that he began to write his first poems. On one occasion, he was expelled for bad behavior and was then transferred to another school where he finally completed his studies. In 1838, accompanied by his mother and stepfather, he visited a mountain range in southwestern Europe. It was after this experience that he wrote a very famous poem titled Incompatibility. His familiarity with and appreciation for poetry grew even more when he went to live in a boarding house in the Latin Quarter with two other young poets who shaped his personality and way of life. During this period of his youth in Paris, upon reaching the age of majority, he gained access to an inheritance of 75,000 francs left by his father. He began to lead a free, dissolute lifestyle in which he spent large amounts of money on books, clothes, and food, in addition to having started to consume alcohol and use opium and hashish. He was a solitary young man, of extreme sensitivity and quite melancholic, and all these aspects were reflected in his verses. His mother, bothered by her son's behavior and worried about the large amount of money he was spending, turned to a legal advisor to control these expenses. Due to his many behavioral problems, in 1841, his stepfather decided to send him to India. However, dissatisfied with the voyage's route, the rebellious young man disembarked on Réunion Island and later returned to Paris. The trip did not change Baudelaire's rebellious ways, and he would continue to be a subversive, bohemian, and solitary figure. However, the experience inspired his writing and confirmed for him that he wanted to be a poet. In Paris, he met the beautiful actress and dancer Jeanne Duval, who was his great love and to whom he wrote and dedicated some of his poems. The poet's parents, however, did not approve of the relationship, and this led him to attempt suicide. In 1845, his first publication appeared. It was an art critique. Always immersed in writing, the following year, he had a new art critique published. These events were significant because, even though he was focused on his poems, it was through his critiques that he began to gain a certain recognition in Paris. Years later, in 1857, his principal and most iconic work, The Flowers of Evil, was finally published. To this day, it is one of the most celebrated books of poetry in the entire world, and it addresses widely varied themes such as death, human decay, eroticism, sadness, the pains of love, urban life, melancholy, and other subjects. Behind all the poems, there is a very important guiding thread: spleen, a term that serves as a veritable key to understanding Baudelaire's work. Spleen, in short, consists of a state of mind marked by boredom and a constant, incessant melancholy. It is a feeling of restlessness, a sense of suffering, a kind of discord between the individual and the world. It could be described as an existential condition that human consciousness is capable of experiencing. Let us look at one of his poems, in which the sentimental intensity stands out and is accompanied by a melancholic atmosphere. Postumous Remorse. When you will sleep, O dusky beauty mine, beneath a monument fashioned of black marble, when you will have for bedroom and mansion only a rain-swept vault and a hollow grave, when the slab of stone oppressing your frightened breast, and your flanks now supple with charming nonchalance, will keep your heart from beating, from wishing, and your feet from running their adventurous course. The tomb, confidant of my infinite dreams. For the tomb will always understand the poet. Through those long nights from which all sleep is banned, will say, what does it profit you, imperfect courtesan, not to have known why the dead weep? And like remorse, the worm will gnaw your skin. Although The Flowers of Evil is a celebrated book today, at the time of its release, things were very different. The author suffered reprisals and saw his great poetic project censored and challenged. The books became taboo, were seized, and both the poet and the publisher were fined. This great work would only come to be properly recognized and acclaimed after his death. In the final years of his life, indebted and ill, he lived in Belgium and tried to earn money with lectures and new editions of his works, but he failed. After suffering a stroke, he returned to Paris, where he remained under his mother's care. Immobile, unable to speak or write, Baudelaire spent the last months of his life confined to a bed, passing away in 1867 without knowing fame. His body was buried in the Montparnasse cemetery. He neither married nor left any known children, dying a bachelor and without direct heirs, leaving as his legacy not a family, but a collection of poems that converted his romantic experiences into one of the great monuments of modern poetry. With the passage of time, his writings would come to be increasingly recognized, influential, and acclaimed. Baudelaire once said that the purpose of his poetry was to extract beauty from evil. It seems that he indeed fulfilled this goal, but also managed to go beyond this lofty purpose by exploring widely varied themes in his verses. In the 19th century, the expression cursed poets was coined to refer to poets who felt misunderstood, who adopted a free, eccentric lifestyle, characterized by a nonconformist, marginalized posture, guided by a strong emotional intensity. Baudelaire came to be seen as a great model and the precursor of this movement, which also has other important representatives such as Paul Verlaine, Tristan Corbière, Arthur Rimbaud, and Stéphane Mallarmé.